The vessel was capped with a crimped-in copper-shaped disc, and it was sealed with either bitumen or asphalt, with another insulating layer of asphalt on top.
The world is such a wondrous place that we honestly find things all the time that help us shine a light on how we got here, how we grew into the civilizations that filled this world, and more. But because the world is so diverse and filled with many tribes of people across millennia, it's hard to understand certain things that have been found. So join us as we reveal to you 8 most incredible finds that scientists still can't explain. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. 8. Mariana Trench creatures.
The mysteries that lie at the deepest point on the Earth could change the way we see life on this planet forever.
There are many high points in the world. However, there are also many low points in the world, including that of the Mariana Trench, which is located 36,000 feet below sea level. Why are we bringing up this deep and dark place in the ocean? That would be because there are creatures living in that place, and we don't know how. Granted, life is incredibly adaptable, but this is a place with no light and pressures that would crush metal of incredible thickness in no time flat. You have to have special submersibles or equipment to get down there, and to this day, only 4 men have ever been down there. Yet, there's a wide diversity of life there. How is that possible? How can all those creatures live down there so easily? No one is certain, and it paints a certain beautiful mystery of our world. 7. The massive sphere in Bosnia.
A team of archaeologists discovers stone spheres in forests and creek beds near the town of Banja Luka.
Believe it or not, there have been many finds in the world that have to do with random balls or spheres just being left in jungles or other areas. One such sphere was discovered in Bosnia back in 2016, and even though we've had years to study it, no one is clear as to what it is or isn't. The stone itself is over 9 feet in diameter, and when people look at it, many believe that it's the remnant of a lost civilization. This includes archaeologist Samir Osmanagic, known as the Bosnian Indiana Jones, who stated that the stone ball found in the forest of Visoko Valley in Bosnia was made by an unknown civilization that used to live in the area over 1,000 years ago. Others weren't so sure though. You see, there are spherical objects found in the world known as concretions. They're naturally formed objects that eventually end up round and are said to have a high iron content, which this sphere in Bosnia has. To be clear, concretions are a bit of a mystery themselves because no one knows how nature not only makes them, but makes them in this size. So, which is the truth? Only further research will be able to tell. Maybe. 6. Earthquake detection device from China?
The device was remarkably accurate in detecting earthquakes from afar and did not rely on shaking or movement in the location where the device was situated.
Today, earthquakes are such a big threat that we need special devices to alert us that one is coming and how big it's going to be. But apparently, they made these in ancient times, like one that was apparently made in 132 AD by Chinese astronomer Zhang Heng. Not much is fully understood about the devices and how they worked. According to the stories, though, whatever made it work allowed it to show where the direction of an earthquake was. On the vessel, there were dragons, each indicating a direction, and below them were toads with their mouths open. When an earthquake tremor reached the vessel, the dragon that was closest to the direction would actually spit out its ball onto the toad below it, thus showing where the earthquake was. Further texts and stories about the device said it was so fine-tuned that it could locate an earthquake that was happening 400 miles away. That doesn't seem remotely possible, and yet that's what these texts say, and they likely weren't making it up. The biggest problem here, though, is content. We know roughly what the early earthquake detection device looked like on the outside, but on the inside, not so much. There could have been a key component that helped make it so accurate, but we don't know what it is. Until we find out more, this mystery device of history will remain just that. 5. Stonehenge.
Rather than Stonehenge being this monument that sits by itself in Salisbury Plain, it is part of a vast sacred landscape.
In Salisbury Plain in southern England, you will discover the mysterious Stonehenge, a rock formation that has boggled the minds of many for millennia. The structure itself is composed of 30 upright stones made of sarsens. Each stone weighs about 26 tons. All 30 of these stones are aligned in a circle, and as you can see, stones can be found on top of them, connecting the structures in a way that makes it clear there was a plan in its construction. An inner structure of rocks can also be found, but to what ends? There has been a ton of debate on that. After some study, it was found that both equinoxes and solstices of our world line up perfectly within the gaps of Stonehenge, leading many to believe it to be a solar and lunar calendar of sorts. But was it really that simple? And why make something that big just to do that? But easily what makes Stonehenge so mysterious is the fact that no one is really sure how it was constructed in ancient times. The rocks themselves may have come from 225 kilometers, 139 miles, from where the structure is right now. But then that begs the question of how they moved them 139 miles to its resting place, how they put them upright, positioned them, etc. The reason this particular mystery is so compelling is because the origin of Stonehenge itself is said to be around 2000 to 3000 BC, long before many advanced tools were around. So thus, the mystery continues: why was Stonehenge built? Who were its true creators, and why do it in such a complex way? 4. Baghdad batteries.
Koenig hypothesized that the 2,000-year-old objects, a ceramic pot, a copper cylinder, and a rod of iron, were used to create a current.
The modern world today would be lost without batteries. This is a fact. But at a site in what was Mesopotamia and now Iraq, someone found a special jar that is believed to be an ancient form of battery, which would blow the lid off the history books in terms of when it was possible to make such a thing. The jars were of terracotta, but the insides contained a copper rod and spike as well as asphalt cork at the top. But before it was sealed, the battery was said to be filled with an acidic liquid. Most believe it was either lemon or grape juice. The result was something that could indeed produce an electric charge. But what were they used for? That is the question. It was a question so prevalent that even the Mythbusters tried to solve it. No, really. They gave some explanations, but it still didn't answer the main mystery of why someone thought of this device and what they themselves used it for. 3. The Copper Scroll Treasure.
In the third cave they searched, however, they found one that was stunningly unlike any of the other scrolls, both in content and material.
The Dead Sea Scrolls are one of the most important finds of the last century, but what is forgotten is that there was another treasure found alongside them, a scroll inscribed on copper. This particular copper scroll was discovered in 1952 in Qumran, and after dating it, it was found to be 2,000 years old. The mystery lies in what the scroll describes, a treasure of some kind that the scroll itself is supposed to lead the reader to. But like a true treasure map, the map itself doesn't pinpoint the location of the treasure. Rather, it just gives clues which, over the course of time, have no doubt been overrun, changed, or are just gone. But what is the treasure anyway? No one knows. But some speculate that it has to do with an ancient Jewish treasure that was hidden so that the Romans couldn't acquire it and use it for their empire. But obviously, this is just speculation. Should it be found, though? It would go perfectly with the Dead Sea Scrolls. 2. A moa hand.
These were the remains of giant birds, the moa, some of the biggest and most extraordinary birds to have ever walked the earth.
New Zealand, 1886, a group of archaeologists went to Mount Owen to examine and observe the underground complex of tunnels that lied beneath the mountain. And to their surprise, they found a claw that seemed to resemble a creature of the ancient past, the moa. The moa was an ancient, flightless bird that was over 9 feet in height. The bird creature was said to be extinct due to the ancient Maori people that came to the islands it lived on and killed them for food and sport. The problem here, though, is that the claw looked fresh. So how did this claw get under the mountain? The preservation of the claw is also a topic of conversation, as none of the other bones that were found in the cave were anywhere close to how good the claw was preserved. So, is there a moa walking around New Zealand without a claw? Or is there another explanation to this? 1. Nazca lines.
They look like giant artworks. But are they?
In Peru, there are a set of ancient constructions put into the ground themselves by the ancient Nazca people. These Nazca lines are easily one of the biggest mysteries of the history of the world. At ground level, you wouldn't see anything, but when you go up into the sky, the true forms of the Nazca Lines emerge. You'll see basic shapes, but then you'll also see birds and other animals, and then you might even see some stylized shapes that resemble humans. Considering that these shapes were apparently made between 1 and 700 AD, that would raise many questions as to how they were able to not just make these constructions, but make them so perfectly that they would be visible from the skies above, even though they themselves couldn't reach that high under any circumstances to check it out. There have been many theories as to why the Nazca Lines were created. Some say they are symbols of their gods, some say they are prisons for monsters, or signals to beings in the sky. Yet, which of these answers is true is unknown, and the Nazca are long gone from this world. Many have used the Nazca Lines as symbols of certain things, including in movies like Indiana Jones and anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! But their true meaning? We'll likely never know. So, what did you think? What did you think of these unique finds by scientists that can't be explained? Were you surprised by some of the mysteries of these items? Which ones do you feel are the most mysterious? Do you think any of these mysteries will be solved anytime soon? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.